Welcome to the Real Estate Show. From buying to selling and everything in between. Rochester's home for everything real estate. And now, your hosts from the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. It's Anthony Butera and Jason Mancuso.
All right. I don't know what episode this is. We fired Mark, so this is episode 1 of No More Mark Myra, unfortunately.
Am I to look...
Fortunately?
Unfortunately.
Fortunately.
No.
Yeah, no. Now, just so Mark is back on the radio full time.
Yeah.
What is it, 3 to 6, 95.1 with the Earl David Reed show?
That dude's terrible.
Mark is saving the show. So
yeah, honestly, Mark's really good. I thought he was going to be like in the background, but he gets a ton of radio time. But that dude, Earl Campbell, Marcus Reed, or whatever his name is, that dude's terrible. I don't even know how he finds work.
Just kidding. We love him, too.
I'm not kidding. He's terrible. I do like Mark. Mark's really good.
Thank you for your years of service, Mark Myra. Shout out.
Yeah, thanks for quitting us.
Yep. But yeah, so now it's the Anthony and Jason show. So get ready for it.
That's right.
We want to talk today what's going on in the real estate market. It's been a couple weeks since we've done one, and in those couple weeks, we are experiencing some changes. And, my thing is like, I hear the word shift thrown around, and in my opinion, thrown around way too loosely.
Yeah.
By definition, like, let's just look at this from a supply and demand standpoint, right? Like, we still are not having the supply, the inventory of homes for sale, meet the demand of the buyers out there. Mm-hmm. The interest rates are still low, and, just everything, demand-wise is combined to get where we're at, and there's still a lot of buyers that want to buy. You agree with that principle?
I do.
So, like, shifting, for people to say the market's shifting, and I get it, I'm being a little too technical maybe, but, like, that would be, okay, we're shifting to a level market where it's an even playing field, supply and demand are more or less equal, or we're shifting to a buyer's market out of the seller's market that we've been in for, 5 years now.
Yeah.
We're not there. We're not even anywhere near there, right?
No, we're neutral, if anything. I think that consumer and realtor behavior has played into any differences that we're feeling in today's market. People are writing offers differently. Mm-hmm. Agents are changing the way that they're conducting business. And it's still an extremely hot seller's market. With that being said, I think that we have to be, as realtors, we have to be more responsible when we're representing sellers. And more importantly, I feel like we have to be more responsible when we're representing buyers. We are, and I get it, but as a real estate community, I think that we've become extremely callous when we're representing buyers. And we almost, again, it's not easy to get an offer accepted. I just think we're going into a transaction representing buyers with a very rigid mindset around a conclusion, and you're casting you're casting your approach onto your buyers, and it's dangerous because I'm listening to realtors and I'm talking to them when they're calling in my listings and they're saying, hey, listen, I don't know how many offers you got, but I already told my buyer we gotta come in at least $50,000 over. Like, they're assuming a lot of things are happening, and I can't tell you how many times realtors have sent me offers substantially over asking price with no escalation, and they could have saved their buyers. I'll tell you one scenario. They could have saved their buyers $35,000. They were the only offer.
To clarify, you weren't representing that buyer.
I was not representing that buyer.
You were representing the seller, so that's what we do, folks.
Yeah, sellers made out really well. And, again, my fiduciary duties to the sellers in that instance, and they made out, but that agent made an assumption, and it cost their buyers $35,000. The buyers don't know that, and it's not up to me to share that. But Tom and Janet Fox, they were the buyers. No, I'm just joking.
I like the word you use, callous, in terms of, like, we've experienced the market now that we've been heading towards the extreme that it's been in the last year, and especially this past spring season for years now. And there's a certain level of training, there's a certain level of experience that adds up to that callus that's developed by agents, by buyers as well. Yep. To where it's just again making the assumption of I got to get crazy stupid with it or I stand no chance. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, for probably the majority of the time, unfortunately, that is the case. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you don't have a fiduciary responsibility, as you mentioned, to buyers to really find out. That buyer's agent that you just mentioned could have probably called you and done some digging and probably would have re-strategized and advised their buyer to say, okay, let's go in less. Let's do an escalation. I think we're well positioned to get this done with that. But
because they've been so beat up and they've lost on other offers due to multiple offers substantially over list, they're making assumptions and foregone conclusions, and it's not the case. And when you're going in limping with the mindset that you're probably not going to get it, you start writing offers like that and you start acting like that, it's going to happen. You're manifesting the results prior to even writing, right? There's an old story about Buster Douglas. And Mike Tyson was undefeated. Nobody could ever beat him. It was a joke. Vegas had him winning in the first round within 45 seconds. And you're one offer or one punch away from winning. You just hang in there. Your number one weapon still today is patience.
Well, yeah. I mean, this happened today with a client. Literally asked me, are we embarrassing you if we offer this? I don't get embarrassed. Yeah. This is all about what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And the second piece of advice is make sure you're comfortable with what you're offering financially, and also that you love the house, right? The advice always remains the same in terms of, do you love this house? If you don't even think about it anymore. Yeah. You have to know. It has to be no doubt, this is the house for us. Let's do what we got to do to get it. Mm-hmm. So from there, are you comfortable financially with what you're offering? Crunch those numbers. Best advice I can give once those two pieces add up is make the offer that you're okay with losing. And I've said this probably 15 times on this show over the years, meaning you get the call that you didn't get it, and even if you find out you lost by $1,000, you're okay with it. Let them have it. I'm not willing to go a penny more. That's it. And you're at peace with it if you do lose. Now you could structure an offer in different ways to make sure you're getting there and that you're making the best offer for both yourself and hopefully the seller, but just operate that way, right?
What conversation?
You can't really lose when you're going at it that way.
Yeah, and here's a conversation that I don't know has ever happened with agents and their buyers. Stop talking about how much you want them to spend. Ask them how far they're willing to stretch their budget. Because I think if you started asking about stretching their budget, the offer will surface. But I think we got to reverse that. I think we have to see how far they want to stretch their budget. Because if the house is listed for $200 and they want to go in at $225, but it turns out that they could go to $250 because they're okay with the budget.
Yeah.
Stop allowing them to focus on dollar amounts for a purchase offer. Focus on what they're willing to stretch their monthly payment, and then reverse it from there. I think you're going to find you'll find it being more successful, and I think you're going to come off to your buyers in a much better manner.
Sure, yeah, because you're diving deep into that financial scenario and making sure it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And again, the first assumption is you have to have this house. You love it.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's the case, I don't know, I guess just consumer mindset, the way I think about it is I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get it. And if that means I got to go $50 a month higher than it was originally planned, but it all adds up and I'm totally comfortable with it and I'm accounting for taxes going up and things like that, great.
Or even 100,
whatever it is, whatever the numbers are.
But the point is, consumers have no idea how much more buying power they have with today's interest rates.
Sure.
For only an extra $100 a month, you're talking $40,000 more than right now. You're talking $45,000.
Well, and again, and that's the catalyst to where we're at in terms of the demand being so high in the last few years, right? We've beat that to death too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a recap conversation in a way. Here's what's happened in the last few weeks. Here's my theory behind it. I think that callous that we've talked about and just buyers and, frankly, agents giving the advice based on experiences,
Yep.
people are sick of it and saying, I'm not going to do this. I'll sign a lease again, whatever. Or I'm just, taking some time off from it. Summer's here. I think coupled with, we seem to be out of, what has been the last year and a half or year and a few months with COVID, and kind of people are out and about more than they have been in the last 15 months, call it. And, we're seeing activity be affected by that in terms of, like, I'm going to be on the boat this weekend, not looking at houses. I think people are out and about more, and combined with, like, just sick of losing offers if they've been in it and, made 10 offers that haven't gotten accepted. Fast forward to we're now experiencing the seasonal effect that we're always going to experience in the last few months of supply coming on the market.
Yeah.
The spring market, it's just, it ends up always being true that enough people wait to list their homes when the weather breaks.
Yeah.
And that's what, is always going to happen. We've talked before, like, our activity really picks up in January, and we kind of call that the preemptive spring market of sorts. And the negative seasonal effect is in the fall, right? So we've had the inventory add up to where I saw yesterday there was an article come out of, I think it was the highest level of home sales, existing home sales in the last 15 years in terms of how they measure it and the metric increase, so to speak. So it all adds up to where all these homes coming on the market with the demand, it's happening.
And there was a delay. It was snowing 30 days ago. No,
you're right. Memorial Day. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was
yeah,
literally,
right.
we had flakes 30 days ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? So we didn't get as much inventory early spring, or even late spring, I guess we could say, but
it's all happening.
It's happening right now. So there's interesting things that are happening. I think that the danger zone is when we feel that we know what's going to happen, because I got to tell you, we do a really good job. We're really good at what we do. We sell a ton of homes, and yet every time I have made bold statements,
right.
Boy, I've been wrong plenty of times, and I'm okay with that. So I think the less we approach every scenario with the conclusion already in mind, the better we're going to be for ourselves, to protect our reputations, and for our clients. And again,
you gotta dig.
Yeah,
you gotta dig. Every single property on the market is a case by case scenario.
Yeah.
There's going to be one that goes crazy, and two streets over, that house could not go crazy for a variety of different reasons. So it's all about, again, I think buyers operating in those parameters that I laid out. You start with, do you love this home or not? If you do, great. Then we go into a set of due diligence is really the way to think of it, right? Yeah. And from there, whatever you're comfortable with. If you don't love the home, then okay, there's nothing to talk about further, right? Like, this isn't, you're not buying a Prius.
Yeah.
Right? You can swap that in eventually if you want. Swapping in a home isn't exactly a thing that ends up being profitable, much less, breaking even type of thing.
You're better off wife swapping than doing that.
Not me, honey. So I think people can take that as a conclusion that, the market's shifting. It's just coming off the extreme, in my opinion. We've been at an all-time historical, batshit crazy, extreme end of the spectrum. We're still there in terms of, being on that side of things, right? In terms of a seller's market.
And
it's just lessening.
And we are still, even today, I mean, we're probably, by the end of this year, we're probably going to see our average sales price in our area hover, if not go over $200,000. And 2017, our average sales price was $144,000. That is a big jump, right? So with that being said, we are still substantially lower than the national average. So I don't know if we've
pushing
plateaued.
400, 350,
Yeah. So I don't know if it's over.
Right. That's the thing.
I don't know, and I'm not going to say that it is. Last year at this time, if you would have told me that this year was going to be even more drastic, I would have told you were nuts. It's impossible.
We've been saying that for 4 years now.
I know.
And the reason is why we've been wrong, because I've gone on a limb to say, like, it just can't keep going up. It's not sustainable. Yeah. Why that's been wrong and has been proven to be wrong is because the Rochester, New York local market, historically speaking, doesn't see those massive jumps like we've seen.
Yep.
So, I wish we had the crystal ball, right? We wouldn't be doing this podcast.
Yeah.
But, it's you gotta just operate within those parameters that I talked about, and the rest will take care of itself.
Operate within those parameters. Don't assume. I'm telling you, it's it's dangerous. You have to have amnesia with what's happened in the past. Write every offer like it's the first one, and don't assume. And make sure your realtor's asking. Right. If you're a buyer, make sure your realtor's asking some really important questions to the list agent, because I got to tell you, I don't know if 5% of my offers actually call and ask me questions about the house.
It's comical.
It's nuts.
So, I mean, the last thing is buyers, there's opportunity right now. I'm not saying the market shifted in your favor. Don't think like you can, just make weak offers and it's going to work. Yeah. But, I think the best way I can put it is that instead of 30 offers for every property a couple months ago, now there's 10.
And if you're a buyer that is not putting a lot down, or you need some grant money, or a first-time home buyer club grant, if you're one of those buyers and it seems like it's impossible,
it's going to get possible.
It's going to get possible, and you should be looking at listings that are 7+ days on the market. I'm seeing more and more that are going past the delayed negotiations period because these agents are overpricing them because they're making assumptions, and their sellers are making assumptions, and they're putting the house up for whatever price the seller wants. Yeah. And that's the danger zone.
Or they're pricing to the peak of the data, which may seem like sound logic. The data is what it is because the bidding wars were involved.
Yep.
The demand was pushing it up. So when you price it that high, I think, part of the frustration with buyers is that they're just assuming they got to go, like we talked about. They have that callous that, okay, I got to offer this much above it, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So, as listing agents, as sellers, you have to be cognizant of that and make sure that, you price it accordingly now more than the last, 3-4 months. Because if you don't, we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing properties hit the market, or not hit the market, but hit again with price reductions. It didn't work out.
Stop looking at how much stuff sold for. Focus on what it was listed for.
Exactly. So exciting stuff out there. We got the pulse. Stay tuned. We'll be able to fill you in, week by week here as things potentially change or stay the same. We'll find out.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show. Find us on Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. If you're looking to sell or buy, talk to the Anthony Butera team of Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester. Visit AnthonyButeraTeam.com.